My boyfriend of 3 years stealthily took my 11-year-old dog to a vet 80 kilometers away to be put to sleep. It was only by luck I found out and got him back. My boyfriend doesn't know I have my dog back, but he comes back tomorrow night, November 26, 2016. My boyfriend Jay left for a trip up the coast to help family on Friday morning. While I was at work Friday, I received a phone call from one of my ex-flatmates, Bob, who I lived with at university. He thought he had my dog with him and phoned me because someone had dropped him off at the vet surgery where he worked to be put to sleep. Bob sent me pictures, and it was my Stixie. I would recognize him anywhere. I grew up with him, and he was so close to me when I left home to study that there were no questions about it. Stixie stayed with me. Bob kept Stixie with him, and I drove to pick him up as soon as I was out of work. Bob also showed me a phone recording he took of the vet's security camera screen, and there's no doubt in the world it's Jay dropping him off. He's even wearing the same clothes he left in this morning before I went to work. Jay has texted me a few times today, and I don't know why, but I'm not confronting him about this. I'm actually scared I will utterly lose it at him. I'm running everything through my head on why he'd do this. We talked sometimes about moving north to be near his family or overseas within a few years. I can't believe I'm trying to find reasons for him to do what he did or reasons for me to not rip him a new one and dump everything he owns out on the front lawn and set fire to it tonight. I'm half numb and half stunned beyond rational thought. Why can't I get functionally angry here? He texted me this morning like he normally does when he's away. I replied like normal, though we're not big text talkers anyway. He asked me a couple of times if I was okay. Everything in the texts I'm trying to read into what the hell he thinks he's hiding. My boyfriend dropped my loved dog off to a vet to be put down without telling me. I am utterly infuriated to the point I'm frozen and thinking in circles. What the hell do I do? Can I call the police? Was that illegal? I don't ever want to see him again. I have no family here. I don't know which way to even begin to turn. My boyfriend doesn't arrive back until about 7 tomorrow night, November 26, 2016, same day. I have a dog, Stixie, who's 11. Yesterday morning my boyfriend left to go up the coast to see family. He doesn't return until Sunday night. By sheer luck and nothing else, an ex-flatmate of mine working at a vet clinic 80 kilometers from me called me while I was at work and asked if a dog someone had brought in to be put to sleep was my Stixie. It was. I had him hold Stixie, and I collected him Friday. My flatmate showed me a recording he made of security video at the vet clinic, and it's definitely my ex dropping Stixie off. How illegal is this? I currently live in a flat that I rent, and my boyfriend pays half, but I'm the only one on the lease. I want him out as soon as possible, or I want to be out of this situation as soon as possible. What options do I not have? A friend of mine once tried to have a violent ex removed, and it took months. I want to be out of this immediately. Are my only options to move? How do I protect myself from what my boyfriend, ex to me now, though he doesn't know it yet, may do to the place I rent when I return? I presume my landlord couldn't kick him out if I leave right away. He's never shown any weird tendencies before, so maybe I'm overthinking this. My boyfriend doesn't know I know what he did, nor that I have Stixie back. Sorry for the scattergun of questions. I'm scatterbrained at the moment, and he only returns in 20 hours or so, and I don't ever want to see so much as a hair on his head again. Update 1, posted November 27, 2016. A night's sleep with good people around me helped. I phoned a workmate to see if I could go stay there with Stixie, and she came over here for the night instead. We spoke, and we have a plan. Thank you for the links to NSW laws. It looks like I might be in the clear with forcing my ex out. I am the renter. I am the only name on the lease, and we had no written agreement. From my understanding, he is a boarder or lodger and can be removed quickly. I'll have to clarify, of course, but that gives me confidence. I was freaking out because I didn't know where to start last night. My ex will be confronted with more people I know in the house backing me up. Stixie is also in good health. He's 11 and a bit too fat and slower than he used to be, but he's fine. These photos are from early November when we visited a property out of town. He started life as a farm dog, and going back made his day. Update 2, posted November 28, 2016. He came back. He lied. I was upset and looked it. We gave him enough rope to make excuse after changing excuse. First, he was shocked Stixie was gone and would help look for him. Then he was shocked someone took him to a vet to be put down. Then, when confronted with proof it was him, he claimed Stixie was hit by a car and he had to end his suffering. When confronted with a live, happy Stixie, he turned it around, and it ended with him telling me he should have had me put down. My coworker and her partner and I told him he was not welcome in the house anymore and that they were moving in with me and everyone in the house, and the neighbor we both get on well with, who saw him return on Friday to take Stixie, now knows what kind of person he was. He left of his own accord and took some of his stuff. I'm no closer to knowing for sure why he tried what he did. Sorry for jamming up legal advice with this one. It wasn't much of a legal ending. For putting my foot down with my sister, even if it meant uninviting her from a party and causing a family meltdown, I still question if I overreacted. This has been eating at me for months. A few months back, my incredible fiancé and I were gearing up to host a casual, joy-filled birthday bash at our place. The guest list was mostly her closest friends, a wonderful group, some of whom are trans. Naturally, we also extended invitations to my siblings. My sister and I have always been on different planets when it comes to values, and she has a history of making some pretty ugly transphobic comments. Knowing this, we wanted to be proactive and give her a polite heads up. I reached out to her, explaining that there would be LGBTQ+ folks present. My only request was that everyone feel comfortable and safe in our home. I did not ask her to agree with anyone's lifestyle, just to be respectful. No debates, no commentary, just a chill, good time. Her response hit like a verbal hand grenade. As long as no one talks talks about chopping off kids' privates, I'll be fine. She then added, if she, meaning my fiancé, doesn't want me there because I'm straight and not mentally ill, that's fine. Let me be clear, no one had mentioned kids, nor had anyone brought up surgery. Her comments were completely unprovoked, inflammatory, graphic, and dripping with malice. She went on to mock trans people, equate being LGBTQ+ with mental illness, and insult people she had not even met. It was a full-blown, unhinged rant. My fiancé and I looked at each other, and the decision was immediate and unanimous. We had to uninvite her. There was no way we were going to risk our friends or ourselves being subjected to that kind of disrespect and vitriol in our own home. Our priority was creating a safe space, not enabling prejudice. That is when she went absolutely nuclear, and the fallout was spectacular. She immediately jumped on Facebook, posting a public tirade claiming she was being excluded for the heinous crime of being a straight woman. She then escalated by telling my parents and her online cronies that I was addicted to drugs, a complete and utter fabrication, which predictably led to my parents calling me for an intervention. Through it all, she repeatedly refused to apologize or take any responsibility whatsoever, instead playing the victim to anyone who would lend an ear. Months have passed, and I am still seething. I feel like she got to publicly smear my name, create an enormous mess, and walk away without a single consequence. Frankly, the thought of being around her makes my skin crawl. I want to host future family gatherings like Christmas, but the idea of her stepping foot in my home fills me with dread. The nagging doubt persists. Was I too harsh for uninviting her over a boundary that, in my mind, was pretty damn reasonable? So, am I wrong for uninviting my sister from a party after she immediately and viciously disrespected a boundary I tried to set respectfully? I have the screenshots to prove every word. The air in our home shifted subtly the day my cousin arrived from abroad. A few years my senior, she was here to pursue a course, and her school's proximity to our house made our guest room the logical, if not entirely welcome, choice for her accommodation. We'd never seen eye to eye, our personalities clashed, and the thought of sharing my space, even indirectly, filled me with a quiet dread. But my parents, ever the pragmatists, quickly disabused me of any notion of choice, stating, she's family, and that was that. As the weeks unfolded, the subtle shift in our home became a glaring chasm. My life was a relentless cycle of back-to-back work shifts, a diligent pursuit of financial independence. I'd drag myself home around 9 p.m., bone-weary, only to face the next task, cooking my own dinner, a small but significant act of saving money. Meanwhile, her days seemed to stretch into an endless expanse of leisure, filled with partying, resting, and scrolling through her phone in the guest room. Her existence felt like a stark, almost offensive, contrast to my own. It was the dinners that truly grated. I'd be stirring a pot of something simple, something earned, and she'd appear with a casual inquiry, could I have some of your dinner? A sharp, immediate wave of irritation would wash over me. I'd silently seethe, thinking she had been home all day and couldn't even manage to make herself a meal. I knew it sounded selfish, but the sheer audacity of it, coupled with her apparent idleness, chipped away at my patience. My mind began to churn with questions. How was she sustaining this lifestyle? Student loans, I knew, could only stretch so far. Yet, she moved through the world with an air of effortless extravagance, frequenting expensive restaurants, places I'd only ever glimpsed from the street, often directly across from my own workplace. She'd recount her culinary adventures to me 3 or 4 times a week, each anecdote a subtle, unintentional jab at my financial constraints. I, who worked tirelessly, had never set foot in such establishments. I simply couldn't afford to. Then came the revelation, delivered by an unsuspecting family member, a casual remark that detonated like a small bomb in my understanding of things. It was my grandparents. They had been sending her money, consistently and generously, because she had spun a tale of hardship, a narrative of starving, and desperate need for school or basic expenses. All of it was lies. She had painted herself as a struggling student, and my kind, trusting grandparents, believing her every word, had opened their hearts and their meager wallets. The anger that ignited within me was a hot, righteous flame. It burned with a particular intensity because I knew my grandparents' situation intimately. They didn't have much to give. I had never, not once, asked them for financial help, precisely because I understood their limitations. I remembered my grandfather, his face etched with discomfort, nursing an injury he couldn't afford the cream for. That raw and heartbreaking memory, now intertwined with the image of my cousin's lavish dinners, fueled my fury. To think she was exploiting their love and concern for her own self-indulgent whims, while I toiled and they struggled, was unbearable. A quiet resolve hardened within me as I began to collect evidence, a silent, meticulous act of documentation. I gathered screenshots of her Instagram posts, a digital trail of her starving existence, including gourmet meals and vibrant party scenes, undeniable proof of a life far removed from the one she described to our grandparents. Over several months, I amassed a damning collection. The day I finally presented it to my grandparents, the air in the room was thick with unspoken tension. I laid out the visual proof, a stark contrast to the desperate pleas they had received. She wasn't starving, I explained, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands, and this is where their money was going. She had no job. The aftermath was swift and predictable. Her financial lifeline from them was significantly curtailed. The explosion that followed was equally predictable. She called me fake, accused me of betrayal, and of shattering her trust. Yet, as I stood there, absorbing her accusations, a profound sense of calm settled over me. I had no regrets. I had simply shown the truth, protected those who deserved deserved it, and exposed a deception that had festered for too long. My cousin, Laura, has always been a part of our family, and for a long time, she was a go-to babysitter for my daughter. However, a disturbing discovery recently forced me to reevaluate her role in our lives, leading to a confrontation that has left me questioning everything. Laura is deeply entrenched in what she calls Stan Wars, a subculture of fandom that in her case has devolved into something toxic and truly ugly. Imagine being a devoted fan of a celebrity, but then dedicating significant time to viciously tearing down other celebrities and their fans on online snark forums. It is a cesspool of immaturity, nastiness, and outright cruelty. The unsettling truth about Lara's online life came to light quite by accident. She inadvertently liked one of my posts on what I later discovered was her Stan account. Curiosity, or perhaps a premonition, led me down a rabbit hole, and what I found made my stomach churn. Laura, who always presented herself as fun-loving and harmless, was actively participating in online hate campaigns. She had a roster of 4 celebrities she was obsessed with despising, constantly comparing them to her fave. The content was appalling. Childish nicknames, shaming, accusations of mental illness directed at other fans, even suggesting they should be locked up, slurs, and worse. Witnessing that side of her irrevocably altered my perception. My daughter, innocent and impressionable, happens to admire some of the very public figures Laura relentlessly rages against. The thought of Laura, someone I trusted with my child, mocking her or subtly poisoning her mind with such venomous rhetoric, made me physically ill. It was an immediate and visceral reaction. I knew without a doubt that I could no longer have her babysit. Time passed, and the subject of babysitting remained unspoken between us. Then, Laura approached me, mentioning her struggles to find odd jobs to save up for a new car. I could free myself up for babysitting, she offered, a hopeful glint in her eye. My heart sank. I tried to deflect, offering a vague no thanks, we have a permanent sitter now. She pressed, asking why we had not asked her. I attempted a flimsy lie, mumbling something about it just working out better this way. But Laura is not easily fooled. She knew I was holding back and pushed harder. Cornered, and feeling a deep need for honesty, I finally laid it bare. Laura, I began, my voice carefully controlled. After seeing that Stan stuff, it made me sick to think about you saying things like that to my daughter. I just thought it was best you did not sit anymore. I do not want her to learn that it is okay to be cruel to people. She exploded. Her face flushed, and she practically shrieked, you need to learn how to take a joke. That was the breaking point. I pulled out my phone, displaying the screenshots I had meticulously captured. I did not need to repeat the vile words. The images spoke for themselves. As I read out some of the specific comments she had made, the air in the room grew thick with tension. My family, who had gathered around, looked on in stunned silence, their faces a mixture of shock and anger. Laura, however, remained defiant. Stop policing my behavior, she retorted, her voice laced with indignation. I am sure I can look through your internet history and find stuff you would not be proud of. I do not use the internet to be horrible to people. Laura, I shot back, my voice trembling with indignation. You should be ashamed of yourself. We have a gay cousin, and you are calling some of these people horrible things online. The hypocrisy was staggering. She dismissed my concerns, claiming I was taking everything out of context, that I was up on my high horse, and that none of this is as serious as I am saying. She accused me of overreacting and taking it out on her because I am old and out of touch and do not live my life online the way she does. Now, I am left with the aftermath and a gnawing uncertainty. Am I the asshole for taking the babysitting gig away from her? Am I truly overreacting, just offended, or too sensitive? Is this kind of online behavior a lot more common than I think, and I am simply out of touch with modern online culture? It takes immense courage to share such a deeply personal and challenging experience. Your story beautifully illustrates the complex emotional and practical dilemmas that arise when family financial struggles intersect with personal aspirations. It's clear you've navigated a difficult path with remarkable resilience and maturity. From contributing to your household at a young age to securing scholarships for your college education, your determination is truly inspiring. The situation with your parents borrowing without communication is undeniably painful. Your feelings of anger, betrayal, and guilt are completely valid. It's a testament to your empathy that you can understand their desperation while still acknowledging the hurt caused by the lack of transparency. Your willingness to have helped them if they had simply asked speaks volumes about your character. The realization that continuing to provide financial assistance would jeopardize your own future is a profound and necessary one. It's a difficult truth to confront, but recognizing that prioritizing your education is not selfish, but rather a crucial step towards breaking a generational cycle is a sign of incredible strength and foresight. Setting boundaries, especially with family, is one of the hardest things to do, and it's commendable that you've been able to communicate this to your parents. The discomfort you feel is a natural part of this process, but it's a discomfort that leads to growth and a brighter future for you. Remember, helping yourself is a form of helping your family in the long run. By securing your own financial stability through education, you create the potential to support them in more sustainable ways in the future, and more importantly, you set a new precedent for your family's financial well-being. Your journey out of poverty demands this focus on your own path. Continue to prioritize your education and well-being. You are building a different future, and that is a powerful act of self-preservation and hope. In 2019, a seemingly simple request landed on my doorstep, or rather, at the entrance of my garage. A friend, whose late father's house was being cleared, asked if she could store a couch with me. My garage, a modest space barely accommodating one car with little room to spare, was hardly a haven for furniture. It was uninsulated, prone to leaks, and frankly, a known haunt for squirrels who had long since claimed squatters' rights. I intentionally kept it clear of anything I valued, so my immediate answer was a firm no. I'd seen this movie before. The "I'll pick it up soon" promise, the slow fade into oblivion, and then, inevitably, the person doing the favor becomes the unwitting villain. I laid out alternatives: a storage unit, a U-Haul trip back to her place, even leaving it at her dad's house to brave the risks there. Her niece even went so far as to borrow a trailer to transport the thing to my place, all in an effort to keep it out of her siblings' hands. The persistence was relentless. Against my better judgment, I relented, but with an ironclad condition: 2 weeks. After that, I stated, making eye contact, I can do whatever I want with it. She agreed, absolutely, promising her kids would be there that very weekend. They never came. The first year, I made a few calls. "Oh yeah, we'll come get it," she'd say, followed by the sound of crickets. In one particularly memorable exchange, after another plea for retrieval, she offered, "I'm a Sagittarius. We're not good at this stuff." To this day, I'm still trying to decipher the astrological connection to furniture logistics. Year 2 brought the same familiar refrain. After that, I gave up. The couch became a permanent fixture, a silent, furry, fabric-covered elephant in my garage. She never once initiated a conversation about it. Then, around the 3.5-year mark, construction work began. A crew backed a trailer into the garage, and in an unfortunate, yet entirely predictable, turn of events, the couch was accidentally crushed. A closer inspection revealed it was already a lost cause, a moldy, squirrel-ravaged husk of its former self. The workers were apologetic, but I waved them off. It had been sitting there for years, a testament to forgotten promises. We briefly debated whether to inform her. The consensus was clear. What was the point? She hadn't asked about it in over 3 years, so I didn't. Fast forward to this year, year 6. I mentioned casually that I was finally cleaning out the garage. Her response was equally casual. "Oh, I need to come get that couch." My reply was blunt. "It's gone. The squirrels got it." A stunned silence. "What?" "Yeah," I reiterated. "The garage isn't insulated. They love it in there." "I had no idea," she said, her voice laced with disbelief. "You did," I corrected. "You just forgot." And I said 2 weeks. The conversation ended there. She hasn't spoken to me since. Unfriended. Full stop. Meanwhile, I had navigated my life around that couch for years. I broke a toe on it. I constantly had to maneuver around its bulky presence. I eventually paid to have it hauled away. It occupied precious space I didn't have for 3.5 years, and the first time she brought it up was in year 6. So, the question lingers, should I have delivered the news back when it met its demise, despite her years of silence on the matter? At year 6, was I obligated to play along, to feign its existence, even though I strongly doubt she would have ever truly retrieved it? Or was this always the inevitable conclusion, a friendship destined to unravel over a forgotten couch, regardless of my actions? At 26, I find myself caught in a deeply unsettling loop, one that has silently consumed years of my life and a significant portion of my financial future. It's not a porn addiction, though I dabble occasionally, but my particular vice is far more specific and far more costly. Video calls with stranger girls, a fleeting, expensive pursuit of fleeting satisfaction. Over the past 4 to 5 years, I've connected with an astonishing 500 to 700 different women, each interaction lasting a mere 5 minutes before boredom sets in and I move on to the next. The price tag for this habit is staggering, a sum of 4 to 5 Indian rupees lakhs, roughly $5,000. This financial drain is a constant source of anxiety, especially when I contemplate a future with a partner, and I'm trapped in a cycle of buying coins on these apps, knowing it's unsustainable yet feeling utterly powerless to stop. The shame burns, particularly when I recall the times I've resorted to stealing from my father's bank account to feed this relentless craving. I genuinely yearn to break free, to regain control, but the grip of this compulsion feels unbreakable. To understand where I am today, one must journey back to the shadows of my childhood. For nearly 10 to 15 years, my home was a battleground, dominated by the unpredictable rage of my alcoholic father. He would return almost daily, his anger a storm unleashed upon my mother, my brother, and me without provocation. The financial devastation was immense. He squandered 30,000 to 50,000 Indian rupees a month on alcohol and, as we later discovered, lakhs more on prostitutes. His dishonesty was a constant undercurrent. He'd invent elaborate lies about work, only to be visiting sex workers. When we questioned the vanishing funds, he'd spin tales of bank interest consuming our savings, and in our innocence, we believed him. The truth, when it finally emerged a few years ago, was a crushing blow, but long before that revelation, his relentless drinking, shouting, and baseless accusations had already plunged me into years of profound depression. As I escaped to another city for higher education, hoping for a fresh start, the emotional weight of home remained and nothing truly changed. My mother, a victim of his torment, developed severe anxiety and heart problems, and by 21, I was drowning in a silent despair, unable to articulate the depth of my feelings to anyone. It was then I understood why I had been such a withdrawn, quiet child throughout my school years. The unraveling, From coping to compulsion. In my teenage years, masturbation became a desperate coping mechanism, a way to momentarily relieve the unbearable tension and emotional burden. It was a private escape, a fleeting moment of control in a life that felt utterly out of control. But by 21, this solitary act had morphed, escalating into the expensive, compulsive behavior that now defines my struggle. I don't lay the entire blame at my father's feet, but his actions and choices undeniably laid the groundwork for my current condition. The trauma he inflicted created a deep well of loneliness and introversion within me. It's ironic, perhaps, that despite being 6 feet 3 inches, lean, and conventionally decent looking, and even receiving attention from girls in real life, my internal landscape is one of isolation. The profound impact of my childhood turned me inward, creating a chasm between my outward appearance and my inner turmoil. Now, the desire to change is fierce. I see the path I'm on, the money wasted, the trust betrayed, and the future jeopardized. I'm trying, truly trying, to find a way out of this shadowed path, to heal the wounds of the past, and to build a future free from the chains of this addiction. Telling my niece her mother tried to give her away as a baby? The air between my sister and me has been thick with unspoken resentments for years, a tension that finally boiled over into a seismic argument last week, a confrontation that shattered a long-held family secret, one that I now believe was never meant to stay buried forever. When I was 17, my sister, then 20, found herself in an unexpected situation, an accidental pregnancy. Her boyfriend, upon hearing the news, promptly vanished. Our family, deeply religious, left her with little choice but to carry the baby to term. The moment her daughter was born, my sister panicked. Adoption, with its legal complexities, was not something she wanted to navigate. Instead, she turned to our mother and me, proposing an informal, unspoken agreement we would raise her child. There were no legal documents, just a desperate plea and a family pact. For the next 3 years, I became a de facto parent to my niece, dropping out of school at 17 to take on this responsibility while our mother worked tirelessly to support our newly expanded household. I was the one who fed her, changed her diapers, taught her to walk, and comforted her through the nights. My mother, exhausted from work, would step in when she could, but the primary care fell to me. My sister, meanwhile, moved states to find work, leaving her daughter in our care. Then, just as suddenly as she had left, my sister reappeared. She had met her now husband, seemingly cleaned up her life, and without so much as a warning, she wanted her daughter back. She moved back home, offered a perfunctory thanks, and seamlessly stepped into the role of mother. My niece, now 11, has no memory of those crucial early years, no recollection of the sacrifices my grandmother and I made for her. The family agreement was simple: forget it ever happened, pretend those 3 years never existed. The fragile peace shattered during our argument last week. We were at my mother's house, and I had put my niece to bed hours earlier, believing she was sound asleep. My sister, in a moment of petty cruelty, made a comment about my recent job loss, implying I could not handle responsibility. The years of suppressed resentment erupted. I snapped, retorting that she was lucky her daughter was too young to remember how she abandoned her. The words hung in the air, sharp and undeniable. My niece, who had clearly not been as asleep as I thought, appeared in the doorway. She had heard. Her innocent eyes, filled with confusion, turned to me, asking what I meant. I looked at my sister, then at my niece, and decided the truth, however painful, was better than a lifetime of unspoken questions. I told her simply that her mother had not felt she could raise her, and so she had left her with Grandma and me. Now my sister is furious, accusing me of traumatizing her daughter. My mother, ever the peacemaker, says I should have kept the secret as we agreed. But how long could such a secret truly remain buried? My niece had already overheard enough to be confused. To deny her the full truth would only deepen that confusion. In the aftermath, I immediately suggested that since the cat was out of the bag, we as a family, including her stepfather, should sit down with my niece and explain the situation properly. But for the past week, my sister has insisted we blow over it, hoping my niece will simply forget if we do not bring it up again. Her refusal to address it, coupled with her continued criticism of me, and now my mother joining in blaming me for the argument itself, is incredibly frustrating. She has no right to criticize me for losing my job when I sacrificed my education to care for her child. I am currently trying to reach my niece's stepfather, hoping he might offer a more reasonable perspective. I had no intention of hurting my niece, but once she overheard, I felt it was my duty to be honest. I am now trying my best to backpedal and explain the situation with the family's assistance, but my sister and mother are making it incredibly difficult. He has been pursuing me, then sent me a spreadsheet asking to be reimbursed for our dates. Am I overreacting? Hi everyone, I have been dating this guy for a little over a month now. He was very persistent in pursuing me, constantly texting, making plans, asking me to go on runs, bike rides, and beach days, since we live in Florida. He also invited me to dinner, bars, and even paid for Ubers to and from his place. We were hanging out at least 4 times a week. Everything felt like it was going somewhere. He had been slowly building things up and even waited weeks to finally kiss me. Then, out of nowhere, he sent me a literal Excel spreadsheet with a breakdown of dates, how much he spent, and a column with my name, asking me to reimburse him. I am attaching it because I truly cannot believe it. It felt transactional and weirdly formal, especially since he was the one initiating nearly all the plans. What is even more confusing is that after sending this, he still insists on seeing me and continuing to date. Like, you want to invoice me and kiss me? For context, I have picked up the tab quite a few times for dinner, drinks, etc., without making a thing of it. I have never asked him to pay me back or keep score. I thought we were just getting to know each other and splitting things organically like adults, especially since he is about 10 years older than I am. So, am I overreacting or underreacting? I cannot tell if this is just him being organized or if it is a huge red flag. Transcript of text messages. Guy, hate to ask, but can you Venmo or Zelle me some some money for the last few weeks? I know you got me some stuff which I am appreciative of, and definitely happy to cover most things like our date night and drinks and stuff. But you never paid me for the first round of stuff from a few weeks ago, and money is a little tight for me and a source of stress right now with working 2 jobs, etc. OOP, sure. Guy, okay, I think $100 is fair unless you have any objections. OOP, are you charging me for in-between days? Guy, I am charging you $100 for the $500 of stuff I have covered since we started hanging. You never paid me the last time I asked for some. OOP, alright, maybe we should not go out as much. Guy, LOL, I cannot tell if you are but heard I am asking for $100. OOP, yeah, I do like the green. Sheesh. Did you get my Venmo? Guy, I did. Thank you very much. Coincidentally, redacted, texted me today saying he was owed money too. I paid him the $90 you owed him from a while back. I was hoping you could reimburse me for that eventually. OOP, oh, sure. Sending now. Guy, I appreciate it very much. Delivered. How was work and dinner with Liv? Update July 9th, 2025. Hi everyone. Thanks so much for all the responses on my last post. It blew up and I appreciate all the feedback. I wanted to add some details that did not make it into the original post since a lot of people were asking for clarification. In the spreadsheet he sent me, I am the green column, and no, it is not cigars or cigarettes for me. LOL. Green also referred to a $200 pair of Hoka shoes he texted me about buying. He took me to a nicer spot called in between days for a more intimate dinner. The other man on the spreadsheet asking for payment was actually his twin, who sometimes joins us on double dates but usually picks up the check himself. I always offer to pay my share. Money is genuinely stressful for me, and I hate the feeling of owing anyone. He always refused in the moment, then turned around and invoiced me formally later. I would have much rather just paid my own way from the start than have any of this happen. Final update. I sent him the last payment and then blocked him and deleted his contact. I did not want him to hold anything over me. It sucks that I paid him, but at least it is over. Thanks to everyone who weighed in.